The other Keith Black block I had was a thou and a half tied on the main bore. So that meant that it needed line honed. Well, I was afraid to line hone it because I've never done that with billet caps in aluminum block. I was afraid that it would just take aluminum out, you know, the softer metal, and leave me and take nothing out of it to speak of, out of the steel caps, and then I'd be left with an egg-shaped hole that measured right but wasn't right. So I just got another block from Ray and had him line hone it before he shipped it, and so we'll put this one together. And well, let me get it on the stand and we'll check it out. Okay, let's check a few things out. Of course, they don't come with any instructions. You know, that would be a little helpful, wouldn't it? You know, you're just supposed to know what to torque everything to and what everything's supposed to be and all of that. But it didn't come with any restrictors here. I'm sure that's going to take me all day to get some of those. Long time. You just can't drill small holes like people on the internet think you can. It's going to be trying, but I'll get around it. I'm kind of assuming that the lifters are going to be tight because they were on the last block. So, I mean, I could be pleasantly surprised, but somehow I've got bad vibes, you know what I mean. Well, really? Golly. That might work. Wow. I just got through paying $1,800 and waiting 6 months for a sun and lifter hone for the other block, and now this one acts like it's going to work. Well, we'll see how that turns out. Wow. Well, maybe they're getting better. I don't know. I wish the main bore would have been that way, but Ray's got it line honed. We'll check that out too next and see what it looks like. I don't know if I ever showed you how to set up this dial bore gauge in the fixture here, but Sonnen makes a wonderful fixture for this. So you're going to measure right here, and this is your cylinder or your bore or whatever you're going to measure. So you want to set this up to whatever size you want to measure at. Now we got this stick in here that's going to give you 2 inches. You want to wipe off the ends, make sure no dust is on there, and then you slide that next to the micrometer head. This micrometer head reads out in tenths of a thousandths. So we got 2 inches here, 900 thousandths to there, and then that next stick is 925 plus 18, so that's 2.943. That's the high side of the main bore of a RB. So then you set the fixture, your dial bore gauge in here, and read this and get set up. And of course, if you're too old to read that, you put that right there, and that shows you we're right on 18. When you get down into tenths of a thousandths, it's pretty fine. And oh, folks, you know, there's a way you can mount that on there full time, but I don't like admitting full time that I'm old, you know. And then here's a setting ring. You can set up to make sure that all of this is doing accurate. You can set up to this size and take your measurement in there, and that will tell you that everything's hunky-dory. I backed the main bores, and they were a little on the tight side, but I told Ray that's fine because it is an aluminum block. It does expand the hair further, and I can live with that. So we're fine there. I thought I would measure these the cam tunnel. The spec is 2.129 and a half to 130 and a half. These show to be about 128, so that's pretty tight. I mean, yes, it will expand a little, and I know they probably like them tight because you've heard stories of aluminum blocks spinning cam bearings before. I don't think I'm going to try to change anything there. I think I'll just leave it and hope but you can imagine you're probably going to try to mushroom that cam bearing going in, have to trim it with a deburring knife right at the nose of it where you hammered on it. I thought about maybe going with the old Babbitt bearings before everybody started using these new PDPs or whatever they are, and I think they're aluminum, so they're tougher, and I don't know which one would be best. I might ask somebody if it matters. But so I'll measure the rest of the cam tunnel and see if they're all like this, but it is a little tight, but that's okay. I'm not upset. The sleeves look like they're pretty flush with the deck. I don't even think that's worth decking it to make it perfect. There's just not much there at all to worry about. I think everything's going to be fine there. Like we talked about in a previous video, the aluminum blocks are just easier to put together, it seems, I guess, because some people maybe painting the block is nothing, but you know, the actual assembly, after you do all your work and measure everything 50 times, the actual assembly is about a one-day gig. But the painting, you know, it takes me a day to brush paint the outside, and then it takes me a day to paint the lifter valley and the bell housing. So I know I don't work fast, but you know, you had 2 days on there. That's pretty big. So I think this is going to go together real well. Just have to keep checking everything out on it. You should check the bore size just to make sure it's somewhere near what you think you were buying, what you thought you were buying. Wow. Plenty left to hone out. And you should check the deck height to make sure it's what you think it is. I don't know why they've always been 10.725, and then the last few years I see people calling it 10.72. I don't know why they call it that. That's not right. But you need to check and make sure, because your compression and everything, a lot of other things are based on that. So I have several ways to measure deck height, and I'm not really happy with any of them, but let's see what we can come up with. Should be, we can get this right, should be 10.725 minus half of the bore diameter, which would be 9.2535. You have to hold this thing perfectly parallel, which, by the way, is not easy. Well, I came up a couple of thou short, but I'm not saying this is real accurate either. But it does give us close numbers where we know that we're not doing something crazy. In order to do the Keith Black build, I have to take this off the test stand anyway, but I need the crank and rods. I want to use those on the Keith Black build, and I have an Eagle cranking rods to put back in it, so that's fine. I hate to take this off the test stand and shove it under a workbench and never do anything with it, so I thought if somebody wants this engine, they could have it. I think the total, I'd have to total up the price of these parts, and I think it was around 19,700 and something. I think I did that price with the Canadian rockers, the Canadian roller rockers, because this has the stage 5s that I want to keep. I'll probably just use that on the Keith Black build. But now that wouldn't be with any of the accessories that go with the test stand, like the water pump, alternator headers, bell housing starter, things like that that I'm going to have to start another motor. And I didn't put the intake and carbs. I figured I'd keep them on the test stand. Somebody probably already has their own anyway. I mean, they could keep those, but I just have to go replace them, you know, if they wanted that setup. Of course, you can't replace the intake because that's a stage 5, but I could get one of those KB knockoffs. I think they're about $750, and it's similar configuration except a dual plane, whereas the stage 5 is a single plane. I don't think I put a distributor in that price because I planned on it staying with it, but if somebody just wanted it turnkey, we can do whatever they want, or I could put their intake and carbs on it. So we've got a little flexibility. If they didn't want that cam, I would use that grandma cam in the KB. I like it. It's probably maybe 650 horsepower in the current configuration, just guessing. With a big roller cam, you'd probably be more like 7, or a big flat tappet cam, you'd probably be in the 750 range. But if somebody wants it, just give me a call. If you wanted different rockers, we can change that. We got a little flexibility on the configuration, is what I'm trying to say. But if somebody wants it, just give me a call or contact me and I'll call you back and we'll see what we can do. I don't know how I would ship this thing. It would be a nightmare to build a crate to ship it in. Hopefully, whoever buys it would want to come and get it, and that way they could listen to it run. We'll put it back on the test stand and have it running and everything, and if they decide to change cams, we can break in the camshaft, and then they would feel comfortable about it and know that all they have to do is drop it in the car and hit the starter.